You ever see this guy with the pillows on Fox? My pillow guy, Mike Lindell. He is the greatest. The My Pillow guy, Mike Lindell. And he's been with us right from the beginning.
Hello, I'm Rick Weible, here to host in for Mike Lindell on the Mike Lindell Show. Thank you for joining us. We've got a lot of breaking news today, and we also have some updates from the EAC. But first, let's get an update from our big, beautiful swamp in Washington, D.C. from Kara. How are you doing?
I'm good today. How are you?
Great. Thank you so much. So you just came out of a White House press briefing. So what's the latest?
Well, the latest is President Trump met today with some leaders from Africa. Benjamin Netanyahu is still in town visiting. I believe that there's a protest going on outside. Yeah, he's coming back to this area. He's staying at the Blair House right down the block. So he's leaving tomorrow. But there have been some protesters outside, but it's been generally quiet at the White House today. President Trump earlier met with 5 African leaders in a very important meeting with a lot of stakes. If you guys could pull up that article, Brookings, which is a website that I have been following, brookings.edu, regarding President Trump's meeting today and why it's so significant. In his first major diplomatic move with Africa during his return to the White House, President Trump welcomed the leaders of Gabon, Guinea-Bissau, Liberia, Mauritania, and Senegal. So these are 3 African nations at this 3-day summit here in Washington, D.C., starting today. And the presidents of these 5 countries met with President Trump earlier, really giving him a lot of credit for the peace deals that he's made around the world, specifically with Pakistan and India, with the Congo and Sudan, and also regarding Kosovo and Serbia. So there was a lot of praise for the president from these African leaders who described him as a pacifist and a peace president. They look very much forward to working with the United States regarding trade deals, regarding mutually beneficial agreements having to do with mineral deals. These 5 countries are really rich with rare earth minerals, with other things like gold and oil. Also, really that these 5 countries are right on the ocean, and it is a point where a lot of illegal immigrants migrate from other parts of Africa on into Central America and South America, and then cross the border. So President Trump really wants to work with them on securing those countries and preventing any illegal African immigrants from coming to the United States, as well as working on counterterrorism measures and so many other things from these 5 African nations. And it was an honor to be able to watch that meeting. President Trump said that he does want to go to Africa and visit Africa, the African continent, in the near future, that he's very open to doing so. I have a couple clips for you. There was one coming out today with the Mauritania president speaking about President Trump and, possibly getting him a Nobel Peace Prize, and also the peace that he has facilitated around the world. Please take a listen.
He's already working very hard in favor of peace throughout the world, with no distinction, no regard to what continent it's on, and he's working on areas where there are tensions everywhere, and he's committed towards peace, and our world needs more peace.
Yeah, so that was the translator speaking today. Interesting meeting because the reporters all had to wear headsets that were translating these 5 languages from different parts of Africa. There was an entourage of reporters from Africa here today, and that was nice to see at the White House. It's always good to see reporters from around the world that come here and visit. So that was interesting as well. Here is President Trump, another soundbite that we have of President Trump talking about USAID. And this is really interesting because the president's agenda is really to create opportunities for these African nations rather than continuing to send them money, or rather golden handcuffs that just keeps them really enslaved to, relying on the West and not building up their own economies and taking advantage of the minerals that they're literally sitting on, gold and various things. So the president really wanting to arm them with the tools to help themselves rather than relying on the United States and other Western countries for aid. Please take a listen.
And trade seems to be a foundation that I've been able to settle a lot of these
disputes, like as an example, India and Pakistan, Kosovo, Serbia. I said, you guys are going to fight, we're not going to trade. And we seem to be quite successful in doing that. To that end, we have closed the USAID group to eliminate waste, fraud, and abuse, which was tremendous waste, fraud, and abuse. And we're working tirelessly to forge new economic opportunities involving both the United States and many African nations. There's great economic potential in Africa, like few other places in many ways. In the long run, this will be far more effective and sustainable and beneficial than anything else that we can be doing together.
So that was the president there. And again, like I mentioned, really wanting to make economic ties and deals with these countries. A lot of the other African nations have deep ties to China and Russia, who has really taken advantage of capitalizing on their rare earth minerals and other resources that they have, natural resources. So the president focusing on these 5 nations that don't really have ties to the BRICS nations. There was another soundbite coming out from a Senegal president, the president of Senegal, again, and I think that was really notable, how these African leaders really view the president. It seemed very genuine, very sincere, that these leaders around the world really view President Trump as somebody who wants to facilitate peace worldwide. Please take a listen to the president of Senegal here.
I also wanted to commend you for your commitment to peace throughout the world and the incredible diplomatic success that you had with the DRC, as my colleagues mentioned. You said that this put an end to a long war that claimed many lives, and thankfully, you were here to put an end to this 30-year war. I also wanted to express that Africa supports all efforts to bring back peace to Sudan, Libya, and in the Sahel. Mr. President, as you've seen, you can only do business when there is peace and security, and you build peace everywhere in the world so that there can be better investments.
So that was a general wrap-up of that meeting today. The president took questions afterwards and basically went around the table, and each one of these African leaders spoke through a translator. That was that woman that was speaking. She was a translator speaking on behalf of one of the African leaders. But really just, again, talking about their countries and what they have to bring to the table, saying our country might be somewhat undeveloped, but we are mineral rich, and really, I guess, wanting to extract those minerals in partnership with the United States. President Trump, like I mentioned earlier, said he does want to visit the African continent. So a lot of stuff coming out of the White House. That summit is supposed to last for a few days. So we'll probably have more information on the transactions and the deals that are made between these African nations and the United States. And yesterday, we also got to talk to a friend of Mike Lindell, the Secretary of State of Missouri, Denny Hoskins. A great interview for any of your viewers that are interested in watching that. Please go to LindellTV and the X account. Follow us, of course, and check out that full interview. There are great officials in the state of Missouri and elsewhere in the country continuing the fight for election security and fair and free elections around the United States. And Missouri is a really good model because they believe in hand paper ballots, and I believe they have a system in place where they do use paper ballots. They are cleaning up their voter rolls and fighting in many different ways for election security. And the Secretary of State was here meeting with administrators from the Trump administration as well as other officials from the state of Missouri here at the Eisenhower building right next door to the White House. Please take a listen to our interview, a clip of our interview yesterday with the Secretary of State of Missouri on election integrity. Hey everybody, Kara Castronova from LindellTV here in Washington, D.C. with the Secretary of State of Missouri,
Yes.
Denny Hoskins,
Yes.
who is a big fighter for election integrity and is not a fan of voting machines and is a
Right.
fan of not mail-in ballots but paper ballots, which is important. Why are you here today in Washington, D.C.?
Learning more about the election process as well as the election integrity. What we're trying to do is make sure that we're compliant with Trump's election executive order. And so we had some meetings today with fellow state lawmakers from Missouri. It's Missouri Lawmaker Day or Missouri State Leadership Day here at the Capitol. And so just had a lot of discussions and meetings talking about election integrity.
So from what I understand, Missouri is already a paper ballot state.
Yes. And so when Trump issued his emergency or his election order regarding elections, there's some things in the state of Missouri we already do. One of those things is paper ballots. Paper ballots are already the official state ballot in the state of Missouri. There's some things that would require legislative action, like requiring proof of citizenship in order to register to vote. And then there's some things that I can probably do as with an executive order Secretary of State. So just kind of working on those things. It was interesting. You know, we got a lot of different updates about a lot of different things, whether it's law and order, whether it's commerce, whether it's energy. But the first one that they brought up was talking about election integrity. That's how important it is to President Trump.
It's really important. I know he's against the voting machines. President Trump is. What is the problem you find? I know that you're against the voting machines with those machines.
Yes, I have a lot of concerns about the voting machines, and what we've seen is they can be easily manipulated. And so as a state senator in Missouri, I actually filed bills in order to mandate hand counting in the state of Missouri. It's already in state statute. We used to do that before election machines. However, unfortunately, those bills didn't go anywhere in the Missouri legislature. And so right now, only the county clerks or the legislature can mandate hand counting in the state of Missouri. And so we're doing everything that we can within my power as Secretary of State to make sure that our elections are fair, that they're secure, and they're accurate. And some of those things include auditing the voter rolls. Since January 13th of this year, we've taken off 150,000 ineligible voters off the voter rolls. And that included 18,000 deceased voters and 1,700 felons. So there's a lot of things that we still can do within my power as Secretary of State, and there's others that will require, help from the legislature in order to accomplish.
And what about on a...
That was
So the interview goes on, and yeah, he's a great guy. That's a good guy out there. Really refreshing to know that there are states that are still fighting this fight. And, we spoke a little bit later in the interview about suing possibly New York and California because they are diluting the Electoral College and hurting other states. And that hopefully is on the table for the Attorney General of Missouri, who Mr. Hoskin knows that Attorney General has done great things before when he sued the Biden regime, when they were censoring the Gateway Pundit and censoring all of the people who were speaking out against COVID, Missouri v. Biden. People check out that case because that was a fascinating one. And also he spoke of the over 150,000 ineligible voters that have already been removed in Missouri, including 18,000 deceased and 1,700 felons. He backs Marjorie Taylor's push to exclude illegal aliens from census counts and says Missouri is now matching its rolls with federal non-citizen database. And he spoke very highly of Mr. Mike Lindell, saying, please keep up the great work, Mike, in your fight for secure elections. So it's a great interview, and please, everybody watching, go check that out on our X account and watch it and share it, because we have to continue to fight for fair and free elections.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I want to go back to one of the earlier pieces that the audience may not recognize. Trump is at the forefront of especially what was happening in South Africa and trying to protect white farmers there and the genocide that is happening. But also you have China out there putting out extreme loans out there to African nations, trying to take over property, trying to take over and control some of these African countries. I mean, there's close to $200 billion in loans that have been brought in by China for some of these countries. And so this is a bit of a pressure point where some of these countries can't necessarily pay these loans back. And so they're forcing them to either give up some of the property or assets or mineral rights, as well as forcing them to join kind of this BRICS nation thing to go contrary to the U.S. So I'm really proud of Trump to really vision cast this and to really kind of make these countries more free, make them better, and to be able to self-determine their future. And by helping their country stabilize and to eliminate the brain drain from some of these countries will hopefully make these countries better in the long run and a better worldwide partnership, so that we don't have to carry all the weight. These countries can lead themselves and be more free. The other thing about your interview that I think is really good is I'm glad you stated there are good people out there in these election offices. And he highlighted one of the key phrases is that he doesn't necessarily have the authority to demand that they go to hand counting. And so what's really interesting, and I hope to at some point follow up with him myself to kind of go, hey, I'm curious to see if you've actually reviewed the logic and accuracy tests of all of your election officials in your state. Did they follow your law? And did they exceed your law to actually do a truly scientific evaluation to make sure that the absentee ballots, the in-person ballots, as well as the disability ballots were all reviewed at the same level to protect the vote. If not, then you've destroyed the trust in the elections, and therefore you should have some checks and balances from your legislature that when you see these invalid logic and accuracy tests, you should be able to say, all right, then you're going to have to go to 100% hand count or 100% post-election audit, because we've got to resolve this, that for over 20 years, we still don't have good, solid election processes across this country. And so having somebody like him that has an open mind, and potentially this lack of oversight that we have in so many of these Secretary of State's offices and these election boards, of course, these election officials aren't trained right, don't understand how to use the machines. And in essence, Jessica Palmea has always been right that we have this oligarchy of election manufacturers that are basically running our elections that we didn't vote for. And so we have this corporatocracy that is managing our elections between Dominion, ES&S, and Hart, and some of these other folks, that this isn't right. We don't have the proper oversight. And they're not protecting our elections either.
Right, and I think that's obviously a priority of this administration. It's not getting a lot of media attention, but they are prioritizing, obviously, safe, secure, and fair elections, and all of the states complying with the president's executive orders regarding that. So that's the good news, and we will continue, obviously, on our end to fight for election integrity. I know that that's a phrase that is kind of soft, more election security, so we're trying to phase out election integrity right now, because we just have to, like, stand strong and say we need secure elections from this point moving forward. And we have to continue to fight for them, and we will continue to do so.
Yeah, thank you so much. And was there any additional updates regarding, I know this audience is going to be very sensitive about the Epstein issue. Any additional updates or murmurs behind the scenes or cracks within the swamp?
A lot of questions asked President Trump today when he was in that meeting with those leaders, and nobody asked any questions about the Epstein files. But as you know, I'm sure, MAGA again exploding. There was that civil war during the whole Iran controversy. Now it seems very, again, much so. A lot of people in MAGA frustrated with the answer the president gave yesterday regarding the Epstein files, frustrated in general since the beginning with Pam Bondi, with Kash Patel, and even Dan Bongino for that matter, really feeling like they're not being transparent with a lot of things, specifically the Epstein files. A lot of Americans, not just conservatives now, are realizing how necessary it is to get those files out there. Obviously, as you know, Pam Bondi is saying there is nothing to put out there pertaining to a client list and a blackmail list, and people just aren't buying it. It's going to be difficult for the administration to clean this one up because the base is enraged. There was an article in the Gateway Pundit today regarding the investigation that the FBI announced and the DOJ announced into James Comey and John Brennan, the CIA and FBI former officials, and all of the comments. And the Gateway Pundit, as you know, is a diehard MAGA website. Everybody that reads it is generally America First or a troll that's there to fight with people in America First. But the comments weren't even about the article. The comments, if you read them, were just about, this is a distraction from the Epstein files. Like, we don't care about these fake investigations unless arrests and indictments are made. When are people going to get arrested? When are people going to be indicted? We voted for the derailment of the deep state. So people are frustrated, that's for sure. And I guess this administration is going to have to do something to throw a bone to all of the MAGA people who really just wanted to see people indicted. The way that the Biden administration indicted so many Trump supporters, so many Trump family, Trump's friends, his allies, like Roger Stone, like Steve Bannon, through the years, Peter Navarro, etc. People want to see, deep staters go to jail and at least get indicted with this administration. So that seems to be the consensus with the Epstein files. People are still unsatisfied. People are frustrated. They're not taking no for an answer when it comes to the this administration's statement yesterday.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I think America is more sensitive because when we look at, there hasn't been accountability regarding Hillary Clinton and her server. There wasn't accountability regarding Benghazi. There wasn't accountability regarding the 2020 election. There wasn't accountability regarding Fauci yet. There wasn't accountability regarding January 6th gaslighting. There wasn't accountability regarding the Hunter Biden laptop, the Hunter Biden potential cocaine in the White House. And so when it comes to kids, I think we're all united that it's the WTF moment of what the hell is going on here. And we know that there was the 90x page book that was used in Maxell's trial that was hidden. We know that there's flight logs. We know that there were other people that had come forward. We've had people that have committed suicide who were victims. I'm sorry, but there is a trail of tears here and a trail of criminality here that if they're playing some type of a game here, I don't think America wants any more games or any more blackmail or positioning. I think we want the honest truth. And so we want the truth in our elections. And so we want the truth out of our government. We demand better. And so to kind of see these excuses and these false statements, the video with the 60 minutes missing out of it, it's the wrong angle. There's other cameras. Just all of this is just such BS. I'm just going to call it flat out personally here that as a citizen out here in the United States that's supported Trump 3 times, and to see him talk so negatively to that reporter asking the legitimate questions about the Epstein files. Yeah, I'm sorry, but this is one of the top 10 issues that America voted for you to go and clean up as part of the swamp.
Yeah. And you see people like Alex Jones in the mainstream media just loving it. Alex Jones crying and vomiting, literally dry heaving on his show because he was so upset by that answer by President Trump. Owen Schroyer and others on InfoWars who obviously were part of the movement that got Trump elected, really, because they are truly America First, MAGA. That would be the people at InfoWars who I have a lot of respect for, are really upset about that response by President Trump. And, a lot of journalists now in the mainstream media jumping on board. They almost sound like, the alternate news now asking those questions about those Epstein files. So it's going to be a hard mess to clean up. Obviously, always praying for the president. Hopefully he can come out on top of this one. But again, MAGA very upset on his response regarding the Epstein files. And Tucker Carlson had a great theory. And again, this is being reported shockingly by the mainstream media, quoting Tucker Carlson, and not in a negative way, saying that certainly this more than likely is a cover up on behalf of the intelligence agencies. Like, they don't care about the politicians. They probably would throw them under the bus when it comes to Democrat or Republican. But really, this is a cover-up of the intelligence agencies that were probably involved in the Epstein operation. That's what Tucker Carlson has to say about that, and I tend to agree with him.
Yeah, I agree. And I don't think Trump is really on the list. And we know that he threw out Epstein from his own golf course when he found out that he was there. And so obviously doesn't align with him or any of his tactics, policies, or criminality. And if the Democrats had any evidence, they would have definitely brought it out before the election to stop Trump from seizing office. And so but there are questions that remain, and just kind of the way stylistically that Pam Bondi conducted herself was just, it just seems so out of character, and especially when there was already video leaks about the thousands of videos that the FBI had to go through. And so it's just like, this doesn't add up. It's just,
right.
It's a hot mess, and it's a complete fumble, as so many commentators have put out there.
Sure. A lot of people don't think it computes, and Pam Bondi continues to probably be the most unpopular person, cabinet member in the administration with MAGA. Wildly unpopular. If you look at any of the comments under any of her posts, she could post something on Fox News about illegal immigrants getting arrested. And if you look at all the MAGA accounts, and I encourage people to do this because it's always good to see what the people are thinking more than the politicians, just look at the responses to Pam Bondi. People just telling her to go, F herself. I shouldn't curse on the White House grounds, but really that's just what it is. MAGA does not like her for some reason. I don't know if it's just that she's not charismatic or people don't buy what she's saying, but you can't even find a positive comment in the millions of comments underneath Pam Bondi videos. And she is doing some good work out there when it comes to everything at the border and different things like that, but people just aren't satisfied. They don't want the arrest of petty criminals. People, of course, voted to secure the border and to arrest and deport migrants, but they were looking, the MAGA people are looking for bigger fish to fry, like the people responsible for letting those people cross to begin with. Who was the auto pen president? Who were the people in the administration actually signing these orders? They're the ones that should be thrown up and locked in jail. Obviously, deport these people, but those are just the low-hanging fruit. People want to get to the root of the problem, which is obviously the deep state and the elitists. And, nobody's getting arrested. And again, people are frustrated. And Pam Bondi, wildly unpopular and is not gaining any popularity points as this administration progresses.
Oh my God. Thank you so much, Kara. Great conversation. Great job. I'm so glad you were a bulldog to go out there and find that information. Great interview with the Secretary of State of Missouri. Keep up the good work. Can't wait to connect with you again. And keep up the good work. And let's, on this show, I'll have some updates on the EO. And there's some interesting things that came out of the EAC that you may want to follow up, because it doesn't seem like they're in alignment. And you may want to go ask some of those commissioners, why are you delaying this and what's the confusion? So I'll have some additional notes on that as well. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. When we come back, we'll have some updates regarding the Trump executive order and kind of where we stand.
The last time President Trump was in office, gold soared 50% and silver went up a huge 53%. Americans who invested in silver and gold during Donald Trump's first presidency are very happy that they did it. And right now, gold continues to soar to the highest numbers in history. These gains are just an appetizer for what's to come. Some market analysis are saying that gold is predicted to rise another 30% in the next year alone. So now's the time to invest in gold and silver, and that's why I partnered with Fisher Liberty Gold. Fisher Liberty Gold is a conservative-owned and operated precious metals investment company. They even helped my good friend President Trump get elected through their contributions to Turning Point USA and other conservative groups. I have dedicated my life to ensuring that people get the best sleep ever. And in addition to owning a MyPillow, I can now sleep well at night knowing that you can all protect your savings with precious metals with Fisher Liberty Gold. With Fisher Liberty Gold, you can sleep well knowing that your retirement is secure. And if you call now, you're going to receive your very own presidential gold guide and qualify for up to $20,000 in free silver. But wait, there's more. Call now or text metals to 26786 to receive your presidential gold guide from Fisher Liberty. And for a limited time, I will send you a free MyPillow for qualified accounts. This presidential gold guide from Fisher Liberty will tell you exactly why you need to own gold even while Donald Trump is president. And just by calling in, you get a free MyPillow for a limited time for qualified accounts, and up to $20,000 in free silver. So don't wait. Call 1-888-4GOLD-19 or text metals to 26786 today. That's 1-888-4GOLD-19 or text metals to 26786 today to receive your free MyPillow and up to $20,000 in free silver. Swollen limbs, joint pain, inflammation, skin aging, and cognitive decline. These are just a few of the awful side effects that you can experience due to poor blood circulation. And popping ibuprofen is not a solution to the pain. It's only temporary relief, and it's only masking the true problem, which is inflammation. Researchers are saying to add this Antarctic super nutrient to your diet. I'm talking about omega-3 fatty acids, but not just any form of omegas. These particular omega-3 fatty acids are sourced from wild-caught krill. Has been shown to support healthy blood pressure, circulation, brain health, as well as reduce inflammation, swelling, and joint pain. For a limited time, you can grab Native Path Antarctic Krill Oil for up to 66% off plus free shipping. Just go to getkrill.com/Lindell right now to get your special offer. Have you ever wondered what happened to the legendary Chuck Norris? Well, I recently saw a video he made and I was shocked. That guy's amazing and he's staying active well into his 80s. What's even more shocking is he's stronger, can work out longer, and even has plenty of energy left over for his grandkids. He did this by just making one change. He says he still feels like he's in his 50s. His wife even started doing this one thing too, and she's never felt better. She says she feels 10 years younger, her body looks leaner, and she has energy all day. Chuck made a very special video that explains everything. Make sure you watch it by going to chuckdefense.com/Lindell. It will change the way you think about your health. Once again, that's chuckdefense.com/Lindell. You won't believe how simple it is.
Hi, I'm Rick Weible. Welcome back. I'm subbing in for Mike Lindell on the Mike Lindell Show today. We have some additional election news that is breaking as well. First up is Douglas McKay. His case regarding the 2016 back in 2016 election to have voters vote via meme text to vote on the day before the election or after the election. That was finally overturned. There was insufficient evidence to prosecute him, so he wins on that one finally. And then what's also interesting is part of the executive order, we see some pressure being before the election or after the election. That was just going to continue from the left. And so just continue to kind of watch what Stacey Abrams is going to continue to peddle out there, because that is a true election denier, where she is trying to state that somehow that couldn't be further from the truth. We just want simple transparency and clarity in our elections. Now, what she wants to do is totally So when we have this breaking news out of Minnesota, the Star Tribune, there's actually a couple that was actually just pled guilty, where they were conspiring to commit voter registration fraud in Minnesota. And so there's a Star Tribune article out there. Hopefully we can show that here. And the couple admitted to putting hundreds of fake voter registrations in between 2021 and 2022. And what's interesting is that the Star Tribune doesn't want to release who the actual organization was, and even the Department of Justice didn't want to name the organization in their article. But what's ridiculous here is that, okay, so then Secretary Simon of Minnesota basically says, oh, don't worry, none of those registrations voted. We're going to double check into that. And I believe one of our partner organizations out there who really does a good job, the American Experiment, they have already identified that the foundation that was basically paying to have this done by these two folks, and there may be others, is that it was the Annika Foundation, linked to the voter registration fraud. And what's interesting is we go through this article, we see kind of the donations and some of the links of other organizations that are basically doing this. And so what is really disgusting about this is that the Department of Justice didn't want to come forward. I want to know who at the Annika Foundation basically organized this, and why are there not additional criminal filings to that organization, as well as potential people who benefited from this, who donated to this. But what's interesting is that they were sitting here receiving grants from the Department of Health, the Department of Housing, and another organization, Minnesota Voice. And so you can see the hundreds of thousands of dollars that have been donated over the years. And we see that Minnesota Voice is there in 2019 and 2020. So you're telling me that they didn't have an impact on the 2020 election? Boulder Dash. This has been happening for a while, and I really hope that investigators will get to the bottom of this. And I really want to thank the folks over at the American Experiment out of Minnesota for doing a little further deep dive into this. I didn't have a chance to talk with Bill and some of the other folks. I'm well aware of their work for exposing the actual name of the Annika Foundation when the Department of Justice and the Star Tribune didn't want to give us all of the full facts. And so those of you folks who are still subscribed to the Star Tribune in Minnesota, please cancel that subscription because that is absolutely fake news. And make sure you're supporting organizations like the American Experiment, as well as the Mike Lindell Show, and other organizations like the Gateway Pundit, who are trying to deliver real news, real facts that we can take action on to help protect our elections, but also our communities. This is so important. And so another thing that was interesting coming out of Minnesota, y'all remember the Tim Walz testimony in front of Congress? I couldn't believe when I found this in the Star Tribune that Minnesota is on the hook for a $430,000 legal bill just for the congressional hearing where Walz testified. This is absolutely disgusting. We're not even 30 days away from that testimony of June 12th, and here we find out that they had to spend this amount of money. I'm sorry. What the heck is going on in the state of Minnesota and these other states? How much did these other governors have to pay to have this legal advice? It is so disgusting to see how these folks get away with stuff time and time again and basically bilk the taxpayers of all this money. This is absolutely ridiculous. And so it is time that we start getting proper oversight of our government. And some of you watching this show, you're going to have to really start doing some self-exploration as to what candidates are we going to support. And I'm really looking at you right now. Some of you may have to run for office to stop some of this corruption. And we need to really dig down deep and start analyzing these candidates, whether you're Democrat, Republican, or this new party that Elon Musk is trying to create. We need true America First candidates that are actually going to do the work of the people. Now, in other news that's kind of coming up, as we look at the executive order, today is July 9th, 2025. This is so important. So with Trump's election executive order, we're now 16 days overdue for some of the items regarding the voter roll audits and legal referrals. So we see the one coming out of Illinois. We see some others that are kind of popcorning up, but where are the rest? We saw that Missouri, that Secretary of State, was actually reviewing his voter rolls and cleaning it up. We see Peter Berninger out of Wisconsin doing the due diligence out of his state, but my state, we haven't heard any news. Is everything clean? Is it an A-OK? I'd like to see a report from Homeland Security or even the Department of Justice confirming where we stand as a country for each of the states. There should be a scorecard out there. Now, the other piece of this executive order is that there's 70 days left for the EAC to review systems for the newer standards. And what's interesting is that you can go to the EAC's website and there's actually call from July 2nd. And what's really apparent is that the EAC commissioners aren't really trying to dissuade it, it sure seems like. And they haven't really. So the chair is actually talking about how some systems could be decertified, but he's also concerned what states may have some of these older systems in use, and he doesn't really want to force them to decertify those systems. Well, geez. So you're telling me you're willing to keep a Windows 7 system out there that was basically termed out on January 14th, 2020, no additional security patches for it, and you want to go ahead and have election officials continue to run that for your 2026 elections. That's ridiculous. And even the current, many of the voting systems out there that are on Windows 10, that support ends this October in 2025. And so we're going to go into the 2026 election on Windows 10 systems that aren't going to have a security update if we look at the past results of these manufacturers. And we're just going to go ahead and be okay with that. That lackadaisical excuse by the commissioners was so disgusting to see in the July 2nd video that I had seen in their meeting. And that's available publicly. It's about a 2.5 hour video that you can go through and kind of view that. But what's also interesting about this is that right now we do have breaking news. There is finally a system that is certified for the Voluntary Voting System Guidelines 2.0, and it's by Hart InterCivic. I'll review that in a future show to kind of let you know what I think of that system and if I think it's actually going to be somewhat secure enough or not. But there's all of the other puzzle pieces that have to be decided first before looking into that system. But here's the scary thing. For most of the country, Dominion and ES&S have not submitted a new voting system for testing under VVSG 2.0. HART already has another secondary system. Smartmatic has another system out there. And what's actually discussing about this is that why hasn't ES&S and Dominion submitted a new system? But yet we have two other systems out there. So Voting Works and Smartmatic have submitted other systems under 2.0. And I stand corrected versus HART. They have a previous one that was still under their application under review under VVSG 1.0. But they got the one out there for 2.0, and that just basically was updated 2 days ago as approved. And so now this really kind of starts the clock. If that's the only system that's certified for 2.0, but the executive order allows previously certified systems to be recertified under 2.0, and the EAC is sitting there fumbling over themselves in this discussion as to how they're going to do it. And it's really sad to kind of see this de-evolution that is happening there. Now, what's interesting as well is that there's Mandy Vigil, the New Mexico Secretary of State. In that video, she is absolutely on point and she is correct. She holds the EAC accountable when they are describing the voluntary voting system guidelines as being voluntary. And she steps up to the plate and honestly discusses to say, look, in our state statutes, that voluntary is actually required in our state, and so it's no longer voluntary. And so what you guys do and decide impacts our state as to whether or not we're going to be able to use the existing systems that we've already purchased, or if we're going to be forced to go into a new one. And so I appreciate her honesty, and I'm hoping to reach out to her to kind of see where she sees some of the pressure points in there. But also, here's the other crux of that meeting. The EAC doesn't seem to be committed in removing the barcodes from the standard, and I don't think they get it. And so they're kind of playing this little bit of a game. And so I think I would encourage the Trump administration to sit down with the EAC so that they can get clarity as to the direction of this. They're looking at this new voluntary voting system guidelines and this new process, and it's a 2.1 version. And it seems like they're not all on the same page as to which direction they want to go with this thing. And so I think there's a real missed opportunity here that we really need to engage. And so when we look at even just 7.4.2, the protection against malicious software, I don't think we're there. And this is where we must get clear. And we must make sure that we hold them to account. And so when we don't see these engineering change orders to protect our systems, even under the 1.0, and we have this expectation of the 2.0, and they're not doing it, the vendors, Dominion, ES&S, HART, etc., and they're not doing it, how can we say that we're really protecting our elections? And so this is where a great team that I worked with to host a Texas event where we had kind of our first nationwide expo regarding hand counting. We had 4 of the groups show up. We invited others, but scheduling conflicts prevented them from being there. And with those 4 groups, and we wanted to invite kind of the top 100 people across the United States to have them start networking about the executive order, where they're at in their states, and kind of the call to take action within their states to look at what can they do with rulemaking authority with their Secretary of State, their Board of Elections, their legislature, what kind of legislation can they put in, what kind of training can they do with activists, and kind of help everybody out. And we had a great event down there, shared a lot of resources, shared a lot of connections as well, but also kind of displayed the 4 hand counting methods. It was so successful that all 4 of them are viable. And that's the beauty of it. And so this is truly, at a minimum, a great disaster recovery platform, but also if this executive order gets messy and we don't have enough vendors crossing the finish line for 2.0, and we don't have secure elections because the antivirus isn't updated, this is where I'm so proud of Hava Loudon, Laura Shar, Beth Beazle, Mark Cook, my wife, who didn't want to be in any type of video and wanted to be behind the scenes, but also other folks who attended the event and even came early, the volunteers from Wyoming, Minnesota, South Dakota, Texas, South Carolina, Ohio. And we even had candidates that were running for office and even election officials that were curious about what we were proposing. And thank God the Gateway Pundit was there to report on the event as well. And so we hit this home run between the four of us kind of developing this. And so we've created a website, the election goldstandardelections.com that you can go look at. But we have this video that I want to share with you as kind of the first talking point that we want to have out there as a tool regarding our elections. And so this will be great to share with legislators.
Voters have lost confidence in their elections. Polls show nearly 2/3 of Americans doubt election results, citing vulnerabilities in electronic voting systems and a lack of transparency. This distrust undermines our republic. The solution? Hand-counted, hand-marked paper ballots, ensuring every vote is accessible, transparent, verifiable, and secure. In seeking to restore trust in our elections, let's walk through voting and counting with hand-marked paper ballots, revealing why this is the gold standard for secure, transparent elections and aligned with new federal election standards. On March 25, 2025, President Trump signed an executive order to strengthen election integrity. This order requires proof of citizenship and ID for voter registration, ensuring only U.S. citizens can vote.
Hi, Shelby. Here's your ballot and your pen, and here's instructions.
After receiving a ballot from polling personnel, the voter completes on their own.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
The voter's privacy must be maintained, as required by most state statutes. Once completed, the voter seals their ballot and drops into a ballot box. Due to recent voting system certification standards set by the executive order, many electronic voting machines, untested or uncertified, will likely not be ready for the 2026 midterms. This means a departure from all systems reliant on counting votes in secret and a return to the gold standard of hand-counted, hand-marked paper ballots, critical to safe, secure elections where everyone trusts the results. Upon closing the polls, election judges observed by the public open the ballot boxes. Ballots are sorted into batches of 25. If ballots have security features, workers verify them. Transparency is key. A simple overhead camera records the count, making it possible to confirm results later. There are many ways to count votes. Today we will demonstrate just two: the gold standard tally method and the A-countable dotting method. Both ensure accessibility, transparency, verifiability, and security. The tally method uses a bipartisan team of 2 callers and 2 talliers. Callers take a stack of 25 ballots and read off a race, calling out the name of the candidate on each ballot. Talliers mark blue slashes on a numbered tally sheet and then match their ending numbers for each candidate at the end of the batch. If counts match, they switch to a red pen for the next batch of 25, and the process is repeated.
Janet. Daniel. Janet.
Notice that the tone of the caller's voice changes, or there is a brief pause when a different candidate is called. This helps to keep talliers on track. Reconciliation is important. If talliers' counts differ, they immediately recount the same stack of ballots, marking opposite direction slashes. If a third recount is required, they fill in the numbered box on the tally sheet with ink. Recounting does not happen often as errors are rare and quickly addressed, unlike a machine count where errors are hidden and corrections become controversial. This method can be easily used with almost any existing ballot styles. All you need is people, paper, and pens. Testing has repeatedly shown that a 4-person team can count 250 ballots with 11 races in roughly 3 hours. Another approach is the A-countable method, where numbers instead of names are called out and optional layers of security and transparency are put in place. These could be applied to other hand tabulation methods as well. First, a caller takes a ballot and then clearly announces the numbers associated with the choices. As the caller announces the choices, two counters are listening for the numbers called and recording the corresponding vote by dotting the box with a marker on the tally sheet. A second caller listens and visually confirms the caller is accurately announcing the correct candidate. This method employs large, visible spots for marking, ensuring clarity for participants, observers, and overhead cameras. Note the numbers in each box on the tally sheet, which further helps minimize errors. After the batch is complete, the talliers total up the number of dots in each column, then write those totals at the bottom. The two talliers compare their numbers to make sure they match. If their totals don't align, they review the race in question, marking any correction in red. The unique design of the tally sheet enables rapid error detection and real-time corrections, eliminating the need for a full ballot recount. This method also creates a paper-based report similar to a cast vote record for each ballot option, ensuring exceptional auditability. Regardless of which method is used, final results are verified by the voting location manager, who signs the results page. This procedure should be recorded by overhead camera, and the final results scanned to PDF. All participants in this procedure should receive their own copy of this document with another sent to the county, and a public copy posted on the precinct door. This redundancy results in multiple layers of unprecedented transparency and verifiability. When people trust their elections, they accept and defend the results. As clearly evidenced, there are reliable solutions to hand-counting hand-marked paper ballots. Hand counting was done successfully for many decades, and we can do it again with modern methods of accountability. The process is simple, inexpensive, and engages the electorate. Elections for the people, by the people.
And this video, you can actually see it over at goldstandardelections.com or uscase.org. It's a great video to share. It's on Rumble, so that way you can forward it on to your legislators, your election officials, but also your activist groups. I think it's a great conversation starter. At a minimum, we need to make sure that we have a disaster recovery plan across the United States. There are too many states that require the use of the machines only. And you and I, we've seen these storms come through our country. And so at a minimum, we need to make sure that we have a replacement for the machines when the power doesn't work. But also, if we don't have proper oversight of our elections, we need to get rid of the machines in those jurisdictions and go simply to hand counting. And so I'm so proud to be part of a team across the country, and especially part of this program as a volunteer, where we are actually moving the needle. And so I'm so thankful to Mike Lindell for being able to have this platform and this time to be able to share this information with you, but also the team over at Gold Standard Elections that put this video together. And we are going to have more videos coming out that will showcase these different types of hand count methods, but also to give you the tools out there. We also have a calculator at uscase.org that helps you calculate the US case method of hand counting, what it would cost to do a set of ballots and kind of what kind of team that you would need within a precinct so that you have the right number of people, tables, etc., to be able to get through those ballot counts. And so I think it's so important that while we have time, we have to make sure that we are contacting our state legislators and election officials today. We need to tell them that you want a voting system for the people, by the people, one that uses paper poll books, hand-counted paper ballots with 1 day of voting. Demand that citizens be able to observe election materials once the ballots are cast. And we also have to make sure that we are spreading the news with friends and family. Elections for the people, by the people. Share this video. Get it out there. The more that we can market, the better. And that is so important because there was a meeting in Minnesota recently where one of the deputy secretary of states from Colorado, one of the officials there, he was talking about how they have a marketing problem that people don't trust the elections. Well, no, duh. When you look at what you've given us and the lack of transparency, of course we don't trust the elections. And that's why we need to get back to the gold standard of transparency, accountability, and we need to get back to just the simple basics: people, paper, and pens. And we need to have 100% auditability and accountability when it comes to our elections. And so with that, I just want to thank God, thank all of you. So glad that we all came through the 4th of July, celebrating our country and making sure that next year, as we celebrate the 250th anniversary, we don't lose the basis of our elections. And so with that, God bless and thank you so much.
The last time President Trump was in office, gold soared 50% and silver went up a huge 53%. Americans who invested in silver and gold during Donald Trump's first presidency are very happy that they did it. And right now, gold continues to soar to the highest numbers in history. These gains are just an appetizer for what's to come. Some market analysis are saying that gold is predicted to rise another 30% in the next year alone. So now's the time to invest in gold and silver, and that's why I partnered with Fisher Liberty Gold. Fisher Liberty Gold is a conservative-owned and operated precious metals investment company. They even helped my good friend President Trump get elected through their contributions to Turning Point USA and other conservative groups. I have dedicated my life to ensuring that people get the best sleep ever. And in addition to owning a MyPillow, I can now sleep well at night knowing that you can all protect your savings with precious metals with Fisher Liberty Gold. With Fisher Liberty Gold, you can sleep well knowing that your retirement is secure. And if you call now, you're going to receive your very own presidential gold guide and qualify for up to $20,000 in free silver. But wait, there's more. Call now or text metals to 26786 to receive your presidential gold guide from Fisher Liberty. And for a limited time, I will send you a free MyPillow for qualified accounts. This presidential gold guide from Fisher Liberty will tell you exactly why you need to own gold even while Donald Trump is president. And just by calling in, you get a free MyPillow for a limited time for qualified accounts, and up to $20,000 in free silver. So don't wait. Call 1-888-4GOLD-19 or text metals to 26786 today. That's 1-888-4GOLD-19 or text metals to 26786 today to receive your free MyPillow and up to $20,000 in free silver.
Friends, we all know the truth. Big Pharma and the federal bureaucracy have made a mess of healthcare in this country, and boy, that's an understatement. President Trump signed an executive order to bring prices down, and that's a great step. But we know that real change takes time. There's one pharmacy that is already stepping up. I want to tell you about All Family Pharmacy. They're not waiting. They're taking action now with a summer sale that gives you the power to take control of your health. Right now, through the end of June, you get 20% off site-wide, no insurance required. Did you hear that? 20% off, site-wide, no insurance required. They work with licensed doctors in all 50 states, and they ship fast, straight to your door. Whether it's ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, methylene blue, antibiotics, emergency kits, or your daily prescriptions, this is a time to stock up. If you believe in medical freedom, if you're tired of waiting for someone else to fix things, do what I do. Take action. Go to allfamilypharmacy.com/Lindell and use promo code Lindell20, Lindell 20 for 20% off your entire order. That's allfamilypharmacy.com/Lindell. Promo code Lindell20. Let's protect our families, defend our freedom, and make America healthy again together.